G'day there guys, my name's Marky and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. Let's go. Am I the asshole here for telling my wife that she's free to find a hotel room if she doesn't want my daughter here? My daughter Anna is 16 years old. She was an accident when I was 24. Anna's mother and I were never together as a couple because it was a one-night stand, but we've maintained a friendly and healthy co-parenting since she was born and we became good friends. My daughter has been living on another continent for a few years with her mother and stepfather, but she wants to come back because she doesn't feel comfortable there and she misses her friends and family. Anna doesn't know their language well, and it's still hard for her to learn it fully, so she feels really lonely there since it's different to speak your native language than to make friends by speaking a foreign language from nothing. I spoke with my daughter's mother, and we thought that it was a good idea to let Anna live with me. Her room is now my home office, but I can easily put together a room for her again. We didn't confirm anything. I talked to my wife about it first, and I was sure that she was going to be okay with that because we literally talked about that possibility before. The problem is that my wife doesn't want that to happen. My wife and Anna have never been close because they only met in person for our wedding when I was able to pay for a ticket for my daughter to come over. That was the last time I saw my daughter in person too, as plane tickets are too expensive. But they do tend to talk a little bit when I make phone calls with Anna every day, but not too much. Anna also talks to her brother, and he likes her a lot, even if they just see each other in video call. My wife says Anna is not going to feel comfortable in a house with strangers, and I told her that we are literally her family, and she said no. She and our toddler are not Anna's family because they barely know her in person. It honestly hurts me that she thinks that way, but I do understand her point of view. Although, our toddler is Anna's brother, and it really annoyed me that she said that because our little one really loves his sister, even if they just see each other online. I had an argument with my wife about it, and I ended up telling her that my daughter will always come first of all, because it's true. For me, my children will always come before any other person, and she knew very well about my daughter when we got married. My wife got angry and said that bringing Anna home would change how we handle ourselves and that she doesn't want to be a stepmother. She said that Anna lived with her mother in another continent, so it's not the same as having her right here every day. I told her that no one is asking her to be a stepmother because I will be the one to take care of her as always. My daughter used to stay many days and even months with me, and I was the one who took care of her. I'm not going to make my wife do all the work, because I was a single father for a long time, and I do know how to take care of my daughter. I work, I clean, I cook, I take full care of our son when she works and wants to go out and do something, just like she does with me. We both support each other in raising our son. I don't know why so many people are so shocked about the fact that I take responsibility of my own child, but that if she doesn't respect my daughter's presence in the house and hates it that much, then she has all the freedom to go to a hotel room. I was a big idiot because those words obviously ended up really bad and we had an even worse argument. My daughter has every right to live in my house if she wants, but my wife doesn't want that. I really love my wife, but my biggest focus is to give the best to my children, and I would love to have my princess here after years of her away. My wife hasn't been talking to me at all, and she is very angry, but she does continue with the same stance that she doesn't want Anna here at all. And I know that I'll get angry and we'll end up arguing again, because I'm not going to leave my daughter alone either. Edit. My wife always knew that Anna lived with me several days a week when she was still in my country, because I talked with her about the possibility of Anna's family returning to the country if things went wrong. That would have meant that Anna would come back to live with me for many days, or even months like she always did. My daughter used to come to my house every day too. My wife agreed with that years ago when we talked about that, but now admits that she thought my daughter was going to stay out of the country with her mother because their business is going really well. On the discussion with his wife, OP says, "We had it because she knows that my daughter used to stay in my home before she left the country. My wife says that in her mind, my daughter was always going to live with her mother. She didn't say that when we got married, she said it now. When I told her about that possibility years ago, she just said that she was okay with it. Now she admits that she thought Anna would stay there." In the comments, someone asks, "If she doesn't change her mind, do you see the marriage lasting?" And OP says, "To be honest, no, not at all. Even if I love my wife, my daughter no longer feels welcome in her school or comfortable. I don't want her to feel that way here too. Someone else asks, what are you going to do about the child that you guys share? OP says, my son would never be homeless. Being okay with my wife would be the ideal plan, but if she continues to reject my daughter's presence and we break up, I'm going to make sure that I pay for her and our son to have a good place to stay and go for 50-50 custody like I had with Anna, or make some kind of cohabitation agreement. I'm going to do the same with my son that I did with my daughter, which was to go see her every day and take care of her. I wouldn't fight with my wife or stress our son out with grown-up stuff. Someone else says, not picking sides here, but if your wife leaves, so does your son. Everyone is screaming, put your child first. You may have your daughter full-time and your son 50-50. I doubt that they would take a toddler away from a woman that you say is a wonderful mother. I think the rock in the hard place is a lot harder than you think. OP replies, yes, I've been thinking about that too. Co-parenting with Anna's mother has always been really easy because we've always been good friends and there was never a fight. But I don't want to think that if I divorce my wife or we break up because of this, I'll have a harder time seeing my son or how the co-parenting would be with her. Another commenter says, unless there's something that you aren't discussing about Anna, your wife is of questionable character for not allowing your daughter to live with the family. She is a part of the family, whether your wife wants her to be or not. And OP replies, I can swear there is nothing that I hide about my daughter. She's a good girl and has never had problems with anyone. Even at the wedding, Anna and my wife got along well. She was a child raised well by me as well as her mother and stepfather. A downvoted commenter says, you've already chosen your daughter as more important than your wife and son. Your marriage is over. OP says, you've commented this stupidly twice. And not only you're reflecting your own traumas, but you're also taking things for granted that you have no idea about. You literally jumped to the conclusion that I don't love my son just because I spoke well of my daughter. Bewitching Chick says, your wife doesn't want to be a stepmother, full stop. She doesn't want anything to do with your daughter. She is going to be awful to her. I would reevaluate my relationship had anyone told me this. And the fact that this woman doesn't realize that she is a stepmother already is absolutely insane and messed up. Red flags galore. Yeah, I feel like people might get confused. Not wanting to be a step-parent? Totally understandable and fine. You just met someone, they have kids, you're like, oh, that's not where I want to go, I don't want to be a stepdad. That's totally fine. But you marry someone with a child already and a weird living schedule and arrangements, and you don't want to be a stepmom? Gigantic red flag. To be honest, your marriage is over. Your wife openly doesn't want your daughter around, and even if she claims to change her mind to keep the marriage, it would be a lie. Even if she tried to pretend, people pick up on it when they aren't wanted or liked. So your daughter would literally feel your wife's dislike. You cannot bring your daughter into a home with your wife. It would harm her. My dad remarried when I was young, and I would stay with him for the summers. His new wife treated me like the other woman's child and constantly made it known that I was a burden and that she couldn't wait until I was gone. I'm not gonna lie, that messed me up for years. The difference here is that you're fighting for your daughter and actually making her your main priority. But I feel like your wife might be like my stepmother. Just something to consider if you decide to stay with your wife. I feel like it's hard to argue that OP is an asshole at all in this situation. I guess if you're someone that's of the mind that you always put your partner first so that there's a steadier foundation in the relationship, you might be convinced that OP's the asshole here, just because that's your moral framework for a marriage. But in this situation, I personally think that OP's doing the right thing. Like, the daughter doesn't want to be in obviously the South American continent because you said responsabilidad. Okay, call yourself out there. She's unhappy with, I'm assuming, Spanish being her secondary language, that she can't form relationships with people around her, and she's feeling homesick. She feels like she wants to come back to an environment that is more homely to her. You know, feels like home. She doesn't feel like an outcast. I can relate with that. I can understand where she's coming from. For the wife not to empathize with that situation and then scapegoat it with, well, the business was doing well. I don't care how she feels. I thought the business was doing well down there, so she should just stay there. I don't know. That's a pretty vile thing to say. Like, She's 16. She wants to have a community around her. She wants to feel wanted. You're being a bit of a dickhead by forcing her out of the household that once was her home. Or is still her home, actually. You're the one not making it homely, wife. If anything, she's the one unreasonably pushing for a divorce here, and it'll be her fault, but I wonder if she'll even realize that she's the one that caused it. Not the arsehole OP. And now, onto the update. First of all, I want to clarify that I'm from a third world country, and here it is really expensive to get a plane ticket, and if I travel, I must do it with my wife and our son too, so it is too much money that we cannot pay. I let my daughter's mother take her to another country because, like every other father, I want her to have better life opportunities. I don't want to think that makes me a bad father, but I guess the minds that have always lived in privilege don't understand. Damn, that's a crazy line. That's like he who has not tasted grapes says sour. The last time I could afford tickets was for my daughter to come to the wedding. Not all of us have the privilege of paying for a plane flight. I've been thinking a lot, and in fact, I'm the asshole because of the way that I treated my wife. Even if most of the comments agreed with me. I don't think it was right to say that to the woman I love, even though I was angry. I apologized to her for what I said, and the way that I said it, but I told her that I don't like it when she ignores me and gives me the cold shoulder when I try to talk about our issues, and the fact that she denied the familiarity between our son and daughter was just cruel. She apologized for it and said that she was angry and said things she regrets. I made it clear to her that Anna is coming back because no one can forbid any of my children to live with me. Not only morally, but legally, I am totally obligated to give my daughter and son a house. She tried to argue, but I asked her how she would feel if we divorced, and my new girlfriend refuses to let our son live with me just because she didn't sign up for it. I asked her if she would appreciate a man who abandons his children for a woman more than a man who cares about his children, if she would feel confident knowing that she is married to a man that abandons his children that easily. My wife said no, that obviously she knows how much I care about our children and hates the kind of man who abandons their kids. That she knew she wanted to have a child with me because she saw how even though my daughter was so far away, I made video calls to her every day, and we always help each other with things around the house. And then I asked her why she rejects the idea of my daughter being here, and she admitted of being jealous of Anna. It's something that I've noticed in the past. For example, for one of my daughter's birthdays, I sent money to her mother to buy a dress that was quite expensive, and my wife just said, I guess you'll buy our son something just as expensive. It was a mistake to let those comments pass, and I think they were just a weird joke. She said that she doesn't want my daughter to come and take time away from our son, and that bothered me. And I told her that if we had 2 children, my time would also be divided, and that as a father, I can give the same attention to both. Changing our routine doesn't have to be a negative thing, and she knows that Anna is not a problem teenager. We talked a lot, and I explained to her that I just want to make everything work out for the both of us. I apologized if I made her feel bad with the way that I treated her, and I told her that I want to really hear what things are bothering her so that we can understand each other better. We agreed to have better dialogue and communication about these kinds of things. My wife admitted that her jealousy is wrong, and she feels embarrassed about it, but it's how she feels, and she feels awful for feeling like that. I told her that that feeling isn't right. Being jealous of my daughter isn't right, and I told her that it would be okay to start going to the psychologist if we want to fix this, because I'm not going to let my daughter live in a place where she doesn't feel loved. My wife accepted after talking about it a lot these days, and she wants to work on herself about that, because she doesn't like feeling like that about a little girl, and she knows that it's wrong. My wife and daughter always had a nice treatment. When I make video calls with Anna, my wife usually talks a little, but not that much. I think my mistake was not offering my wife to make video calls alone with Anna like Anna does with my toddler sometimes. My daughter really likes my wife and calls her auntie, even if they don't know each other too well. So I don't want her to know how my wife really feels about her. I offered to teach my wife how to play the same video games that I play with my daughter so that they can play together and get to know each other more. I just know that Anna would love that. They both have a lot of the same interests. She accepted that and said that she loves me and wants to try it for me and for our toddler. If I leave my wife, I would be breaking my son's house. He's my baby too, and the last thing I want is to let adult matters affect him. I don't want to do that, and I love this woman. I want this to work, and I'm going to do my part for it, but the first moment she treats my daughter badly, I will end things with her. And I clarified that to her, and she agreed with that and promised to work on this. I still haven't confirmed anything to Anna's mother about the date on which our daughter can come, since I need to fix the room for her first, and I want my wife and little girl to get to know each other better. Talking about it with my psychologist, he told me that the best thing is always to get them closer little by little before Anna comes to live here. The last 4 days, my wife and Anna have been talking longer, and I told Anna that we could teach my wife how to play with us. Anna feels really comfortable talking with my wife, and they started talking about random things, which I feel left out of because I don't understand about the things they talk about, but I'm pretty glad to see that they actually have things to talk about. I suppose a lot of people are going to call me an idiot for not divorcing my wife, because that was what most of the comments told me. But it's not at all as simple as, yeah, we argued, so let's get divorced and have 50-50 custody. And I personally think that it's been better for us to have spoken up like mature people instead of just getting divorced. Seeing that my wife has opened up to me and is trying to make things work out, I prefer to give this a second chance and hope that she can see my daughter as her friend and even as her family if she allows it to herself. Your wife is going to treat your daughter badly. Look, no one can read the future to say that, but I can work to make that future not happen, and in the meantime, I prefer to maintain a positive approach since my wife has never behaved badly with my daughter, and my daughter knows that if she feels uncomfortable, she knows that she can talk about it with her mum, stepdad, or me, as we always teach her to talk to us about anything that makes her uncomfortable. Anna has a sharp tongue, so I really doubt she'll stay quiet if my wife makes any comments that make her uncomfortable. I'm not going to force them to be best friends. I want them both to flow on their own. I'm also not going to use my daughter as a free babysitter, as many in the comments suggested as a supposed solution, and both her and her brother can live in this house as long as they want. In the comments, if your wife doesn't get over her jealousy though, you're going to have to make a choice. Hopefully, since she took ownership of how awful what she said and did was, she'll become better. And OP says, yes, I have made it clear to my wife that my decision will always be to protect my children from any person or situation, so if her jealousy returns, there will be no third chance. Do you plan on leaving your daughter alone with your wife? OP says, for now they have video calls with me. If my daughter wants to have video calls only with my wife, then they will have video calls alone. My daughter is smart and has a sharp tongue. If she feels uncomfortable with anything my wife does, she will let me or her mother or stepfather know about it. I mean, when she comes to stay with you, would you feel comfortable with leaving your wife alone with your daughter? OP says, if my wife continues to improve her behavior and continues to be open to having a close relationship with my daughter, yes. The ideal is that, as I said in the post, that is precisely the reason why they are making video calls together, so that not only me, but also that they feel comfortable with each other when they live together. Look, just because she's doing okay with video calls with your daughter and being nice to her, doesn't mean that she's going to be the same when your daughter is in her home, especially when she doesn't want her there. And OP says, and it doesn't mean that she'll treat her badly either. Neither you nor I know the future, and we could assume all night and day about what will happen. I prefer to think about the best for all of the members of my family and trust that my wife wants to improve for herself and others with professional help. Your wife also needs to know that she can talk to you if she's uncomfortable. This probably won't end well. OP says, my wife knows she can talk to me about whatever she wants. As I said in the post, she's opened up to me about what she really thinks, and we've been having a sincere dialogue. Honestly, good display of boundaries by OP here, and good rebuffing to the naysayers. I understand the naysayers are coming from a place of genuine concern, at least I would hope so. But I do agree, it's good to have a healthy dose of skepticism, especially when someone seemingly changes as fast as the wife is in this situation. I think you got to give it time to see if it's genuine or if she's just pretending so that she doesn't cause more arguments. But I think they're showing good, transparent communication within their marriage here. It's not all doom and gloom, like so many situations that get presented on here, where people are like, divorce right now, you need to get out of there. That advice can be good, but it's not always realistic, and I think OP's situation shows you don't always have to divorce straight away, and hopefully things will continue to get better. And now, onto the next update. I didn't really think about updating again, but I remembered that I have this account, and I thought, why not, since I have the free time in this moment while I take care of my toddler. My daughter and my wife's relationship is going very well. They both make video calls to watch some series together that they both like. They've even started to have inside jokes that I don't understand, but I think that's something good, although to be honest, I now feel a little left out. Just joking. My wife has been going to a psychologist, and me too. I want both of us to get better together, to work on her insecurities and problems, because she knows that feeling jealous of my daughter is not good at all, and a few weeks ago, she talked to my daughter about her feelings towards her and apologized. My daughter was quite surprised to learn that my wife felt this way, but accepted the apology, and told her that she understands her. I left them talking alone that day, so they have privacy, and after that, they have had a closer bond. My wife said that my daughter told her that she will always respect someone who is sincere and wants to be a better person. In the previous post, many said that I decided to bring my daughter without talking about it with my wife before, but that is literally what I did. I never confirmed anything to the mother of my daughter until I spoke to my wife. I was never the partner of my daughter's mother, by the way. Many commenters suggested her as my ex-wife, but we were never anything. The talk about bringing my daughter back was paused because I wanted them to know each other better before living all together, but my wife started to talk about how she wants to decorate the bedroom and rejected all of my ideas because they're too boring for a girl. So she's having fun redecorating the room with our toddler, who is really happy to see his sister in person. We still didn't arrange a date because my daughter's mother has to talk with her high school for problems there and everything. And I have to prepare everything here too, but all is going well step by step. In the comments, how can you live somewhere where you can see a psychologist but airfare is expensive? OP says, in my country, there's something called obra social, which gives me, my wife, and my kids free private healthcare, and therefore also to be able to go to a psychologist for free. Someone else says, flights are only $1,000 to Europe. This commenter is pulling information out of their ass. Damn the call out. OP replies, you have the privilege of earning in dollars and not having a totally devalued economy. I don't. Here, there are many people who make less than $250 monthly. My daughter lives in another continent, not Europe. Oh, so I have to switch that around for my first one. Sorry, I thought the daughter lived in South America. No, OP lives in South America. Daughter probably lives in North America. Mystery solved. Problem solved. And now, onto the last update. Hello, I just wanted to have one last update before deleting this account since I don't see the point of continuing. My daughter has been living with us for weeks now. My wife and her get along well. Her little brother adores her, and they can finally spend some time together in person. He's really excited to have her home now. My wife has been working a lot on herself, and I've noticed how much she changed in a good way, and how her relationship with my daughter is good too. I noticed it especially when we went to pick up my daughter at the airport, and my wife was very excited to see her. They had been watching movies together online for months. She is no longer jealous of my daughter, and although it's a process that takes time, I know that she's making an effort. My daughter has not started school here, so she'll have to wait until next year. Anyway, we decided to bring her now since in a few months the tickets would be much more expensive. It was my wife that told me that, and that she felt ready to spend time in person with her. I was really happy to hear her say that. I didn't expect her to already feel ready to tell me that. My daughter lived in a country in Asia. Although it was a really beautiful and safe country, it was very difficult for her to adapt, and the bullying over there is something very serious, much more towards her who had so much difficulty with the language. Sometimes she obviously misses her mum, but they text a lot. I try to spend as much time as I can with her so that she doesn't miss her mother and stepfather too much. I also take her to see our relatives, and she has met my wife's family as well. But in general, I know that she feels happy here, and she's told me that she misses her grandparents, uncles, and cousins. The whole family is very happy that she is back here. My wife and I are doing great too, And I've also worked on myself by going to therapy. Now we talk a lot whenever something bothers us or we have some discontent. I think the key is that we can communicate even if there are dark thoughts. I know that she is a good person, and like everyone, she has dark thoughts too, but she's a good person because she works on improving herself, and I'm doing that too. I love her, and I know that she's a good mother who wouldn't treat my daughter badly. I like to take care of our children, clean and cook for them, although sometimes I find it hard to understand that my daughter now does all of that by herself, and that I don't have to do it, but she's still small in my eyes, just like her brother. Anyways, I'm sorry if it's a boring update and everyone expected me to divorce my wife, but things are like this. Luckily, we are starting to solve our problems. They now have a relationship of friends, and I like that if they are happy like that. In the comments, OP says, "My wife is not a villain who is hiding her true evil plan. I prefer to trust what I see and know. My daughter feels comfortable and happy around my wife, and my wife feels the same. My daughter is not paying for anything. She is happy and knows that if something bothers her, then she can talk about it to her mother, stepfather, or me. People change. I'm sorry you've never experienced that change." In the comments, Miss Frenchie says, "Based on the reference to the medical system, the OP is from Argentina, where the average monthly income is equivalent to $200 US. Flights to Asia aren't usually as cheap as $1,000, but even if they are, that's nearly half a year's salary. The comments in the OP are just mind-blowing in their ignorance." Yeah, those comments about flight costs were delusional. I'm from rural Canada and live in Southeast Asia. It costed me $1,800 to $2,200 to go home once, and it takes 3 to 4 planes one way. Local wages can't cover that in a year. Edit, and then assuming that that means it's impossible to find a psychologist was also so ridiculous. Developing country doesn't equal no medical system. That person has never left their home country except for resort travel. I love the comment, even if it's just out of their ass, about tickets to Europe only cost $1,000. Like, oh, only $1,000? Yeah, let me just pull $3,000 out of my ass to take me and my wife and kid to go visit my other kid. I sure wish I was somebody who considers $1,000 only anything. Yeah, pretty insane energy from those first comments, but hey, what are you gonna do? That's Reddit for you. Reddit is a fantasy land sometimes where people are millionaires or temporarily embarrassed millionaires. They'll get there soon because, it's only $1,000 to go to Europe. I've got the money for that, so you should too. Because everyone here lives in America. At the end of the day, I'm very glad that OP resolved this issue with their wife. It does seem as though there was no evil master plan, unfortunately, and this was just two lovely people cohabiting that had a problem with each other, and what would you know? Open, transparent communication between them solved the issue because they were both willing to work together. I was a bit jaded in my initial response, yes, where I was like, well, if the divorce happens, it's her fault. Because, we do see things like that. We do see people causing their own divorce and then not realizing that they caused their own divorce, and then always blaming their partner for a problem that they caused. I'm glad that OP's wife was not that person in this post, and they were both willing and able to go to therapy together. That is beautiful to see. So thank you for this story, OP. I'm glad that everything is going well. You're still not the asshole, and I hope you have an amazing future with your kids. Thank you for the story. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!